Well, hello everybody. It's wonderful, wacky. I can't think of another W. Wonderful Wednesday.
Wondrously.
How is
Ooh, there
everybody?
we go.
This is our third appearance today. I feel like a celebrity. I'm seeing myself on camera so much. Never did I think I'd see myself on camera.
Uh-oh.
Today, I have to tell you all, I resisted doing YouTube for so long. It was like really something that I know my students, whatever, were asking me for years before to do stuff on YouTube. And I was like, nee. And now I'm here. So it's quite funny seeing myself all the time. Anyway, welcome to Wednesday, everybody. And I know Morné is having some serious internet issues today. He's popping in and out all the time. So now you see him, now you don't. We can just call him Magic Morné for today.
I'm praying for the techno gods.
Yeah.
You know,
Hello, Bryce. Welcome. And how are you with the Emerald
um,
Tablet 5 Part 2? How?
yes, and we were chatting off. I mean, we're getting into this with the Emerald tablets, but we were talking off camera before we started about the darkness and the light, and how it's kind of heating up a little bit right now. And I am very, very honored. I just have to say this to you and Morné. I'm very, very honored to be standing in the corner with both of you because I think out of everybody in our community, we probably get attacked the most. So
Yeah. Well, it's an absolute pleasure, and I can absolutely say that I can extend that to you as well. It's an absolute pleasure. We come onto this platform not really knowing what the heck to expect. What is it, 2.5, 3 years ago now? And I got whacked around a bit from pillar to post, sort of learning how to be a big girl on a public platform where I tell you people, and when people want to say shit, they just say it, boy. There's no mercy. I mean, they'll say it in the most ruthless way possible. And one thing is for sure, you get to understand how pissed off people are at life. Because if you don't have a skin of a rhino, you're going to take a lot of strain on these types of platforms. That's for sure. So, and you're right,
yeah.
we do. We get hammered a lot. I mean, we just had Jessie on for a double show as well, and of course, everyone who knows us with Jessie knows how she gets trolled as well. And just because we are the little ship Africa, we get hammered as well, but they don't know who they're dealing with. Amanda Bays said, Amanda Bays is she's probably South Africa's top psychologist when it comes to SRA and dealing with guys that have come out of the military. I mean, these high-level military MK Ultra guys. She kind of works with them a lot, and obviously also very Christian in the way that she does it. She says to me the one day, Chantelle, she says, I wonder why God brought you here. She says, you like the outside horse. But she says, I said, you're right. And he was always back the outside horse, especially when she's a fire horse.
Well, and the thing is, like, we know that like 90% of the people in our community are infiltrators, but I'm sitting there and I don't know who everyone is. I know who some people are, but one day I was like counting on my hand. I was like, me, Dante, Morné, Catherine Edwards. Like I was like, this list is getting real short of people who I know for sure are on the side of good and trying to do good. I was like, we are literally like David and Goliath at this moment. And
Yeah.
Beforehand, before we started filming, we get hit because we give you nuggets of truth when it comes to you. And that's what the Emerald tablets are really about too, that this is a system of healing. And that's one thing, because as we were saying before we started filming, like it's either destruction or creation. And people who are out to destroy and have that vigilante projected anger, they're worshiping a god of destruction. But when we're saying, okay, let's heal this, let's look at ways we can heal this, that's coming from a god of mercy and grace. And so that is literally, we talk a lot about consent, but what people I don't think are truly understanding is that what your brain says and what your energetic body say are usually two different things. Yeah. And so your consent is coming from your energetic body. right? So you can say, I don't consent, but if your body is consenting to the anger and to the low vibration and all the shame, that shadow side that you don't want to face, as you were saying before we started filming, then the darkness takes that captive and you've consented to the darkness at this point.
Absolutely.
So one thing, like, I know you guys do, I mean, we expose a lot, but I think we've talked about too, like the exposing is the story. But what you do with that should be your catalyst to start to look within and heal your own shadow side. And once you start to heal that, like truly face that darkness within you, then that's when things change. It doesn't change because you pitch a temper tantrum about what the controllers are doing on these islands. Yes, it brings awareness, but it only starts to shift and change when that need to hurt someone else to express that violence shifts within you, because you start to heal yourself, because you start to understand that your shadow, I mean, you were just saying before we went on, there are a lot of people who believe that the cabal is no longer here. And as our friend Tamara says, I want to say, what fucking Santa sleigh are you riding in on? Because like, I want to get on that, because what delirious, delusional world are you in? Like, there's never going to be a time when there's not polarity, because that's how we grow and learn, through that friction. And I want to express that. And he's going to actually, in the next tablet, Thoth is going to talk a lot about this. What we have to understand, especially everybody should read the Law of One, because the Law of One does a great job explaining this. What the Lucies are doing, what the Luciferians are doing, the controllers are doing is a spiritual path, just like what we're doing, right? It's a service to self path. They are not going to stop. In fact, it's going to get worse, because they are, just as we are trying to harvest, as the law. I mean, I hate the word harvest. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't like they picked that word, but graduate, just as we are trying to graduate and excel our consciousness on the side of light, they are also trying to grow in the side of darkness. They are not just going to be like, oopsie daisy, or like, we surrender. No, because that is capitulating to the light, and they don't do that. You really think the people that do these activities, these religious rituals, are just going to capitulate to us? Are you kidding?
No chance.
No, they're not going to do it. And so all we can do to protect us, yes, keep spreading the word. Yes, keep talking about. Don't put your money into organizations that support this. You can do things to try to destabilize them, but if you want to get rid of them, you're going to have to like face yourself. Like you're just going to have to face yourself. Like that's medicine. And that's what they don't want you to know. And that's why people like me and Shanti and Morné get shadow banned, because they don't want you to know that. They don't want you to know that you are the secret weapon. Sean Stone said this on my channel, and I thought it was brilliant. I'm paraphrasing what he said. He's Oliver Stone's son. Everybody knows Oliver Stone, the big Hollywood director. And so he has a perspective of this from the narration of movies. And he talks about how when a director is filming a movie, the director is in charge of the perception the audience is seeing. The director will move the camera where the camera needs to be placed, play the music up close to create an emotional response in the viewers. Well, the Cabal is doing that as well in our real life. And so when they do things like make you believe they no longer exist, or, I mean, what's the saying? The devil's greatest trick was convincing you he didn't exist, or making you like so angry and mad that you project that anger out. The controllers are controlling your perception of what's happening. And once you see it, you are their puppet at that point.
Yeah,
and so
absolutely.
you have to understand that there are infiltrators. The Cabal they are some of the smartest people that probably ever walked the face of the earth. I'll give them that. They don't have empathy and compassion, but they're smart. They know what they're doing. And so they are directing you. We saw it with the riots of 2020 with the, we can't say this on YouTube, but with the organization that has to do with a certain race. Yeah. What did they do? They played with emotions when the organization itself was not even about that, right? That's what they're doing to you too within this truther community, to make you think certain things, to make you believe certain things so that you give consent to certain things. Take your power back. Take it back. Read the Emerald Tablets. Do yoga, journal, turn YouTube off if you need to. Go out. I tell my subscribers all the time, like, if you got to turn me off, go out in nature. Learn how to heal and forgive yourself. And then you free yourself, you free humanity from this tyrannical group, because they are not going to stop. boys and girls. I
Well,
don't know.
you know, we understand that, you know, there's the light and the dark, and I'm not talking about the light and the dark side of the system, please. I'm talking about
In general.
God.
Yeah.
Yes, there's light and then there's dark, and we understand the light is about creation, life, gentleness, because we understand gentleness is really your true power. And then, of course, the opposite of that is the dark or the deception. And that's all about manipulation and untruths, right? So we know by now that the devil knows exactly every trick in the book. And as you say, is not going to easily consent to letting all his, because remember, they see each other, they see their kids, they see the kids that they take into the system as their possessions, right? We must never forget that. So, which is why when you're looking at a lot of these dark entities like the dragons and the demons and the this and the that, and you know, when I take a look back and I look and take a step back and I look at these things, these entities are just doing what they're meant to do. They are really just extensions of Lucifer, right? Of the dark. So they're really just doing what they are meant to do. So when they've been gifted, that child belongs to them. And they don't want to let their possession go, right? Because, and that's what happens when you get up into the higher bloodlines and you start seeing how children, for example, are gifted to Azazel. I mean, I had someone in Africa who was birthed for him as his gift. And, you know, it's all about rank and stuff like that as well. But so when we understand that that is how it works, we are the only ones who can, whether we've been the ones that are gifted in that way or whether our energy is full of jealousy or anger or rage or whatever it might be, you still in the dark pot when you have those, even those non-extreme emotions, right? You're still adding to that. So each person really just needs to understand what is magnetizing them there. Identify that within yourself. And you do that through inner reflection. You do that through sitting with yourself, sitting with God, prayer, meditation, yoga, beach walks, forest walks, you know, the way that I do, the way that I get my connection. But it really is very, very, this is the time where I think we have to recognize we've never had a time like this before on the history of this planet, not that I know of. It's like everything is coming together, right? All the timelines are coming together into like this bottleneck. So it feels crazy. And it's true, this is where the separation begins between the fourth and fourth density negative. Mm-hmm. So in 4D, we will ascend, which is really beautiful because it's about, you can intuit things, you can feel things, you can perceive things, you can, you know, so you kind of get things you see beyond the veils. Negative is really coming from the more destructive. So you're going into the more destructive side of life, more controlled, like really what the Luciferians want. Everyone is living in their smart cities, driving their cars that are going to get switched off if you drive too far, you know, or whatever it is, that the control mechanisms through AI, which is also the age of Aquarius, that are being put into place now. And we're either going to go that way or we're going to understand the freedom that exists within us. And
it's
we're
your
going to
choice.
choose.
Because both are being hard. That's one thing we were talking about off camera. Like when people, you have to understand that these controllers are doing this on purpose. They want to go dark. They want that. So they are, not only are we harvesting to the light, but they are also harvesting to the darkness too at the exact same time. So you're not going to see them give up. And and you're right, Shanti, like every time people get up, you know, that's what cracks me up, because here on the side of light, we're all mad about censorship. We're mad because we get shadow banned. We're mad because we get censored on social media. But then a part of the people who are mad at that censorship get mad at us, for reading the missing books of the Bible or the Emerald Tablets. Hello, that's censorship. That's the same thing as Facebook. Like, and so you have to see that within yourself, that you're opening up that door to go into those negative. That's part of when you tell me that I can't read the missing books of the Bible, you're trying to control me in my, and if you are confident in your faith, if you are confident in what you believe, then me reading the missing books of the Bible or me reading the Emerald Tablets would not faze you.
Yeah, exactly.
You
or you just scroll on.
Scroll on.
Yeah, wouldn't make it. Yeah, it would make a difference in your life.
I can't speak for Shanti and Morné, but if I was a gambling woman, I would gamble that, like me, Shanti and Morné are not stalking religious YouTube pages telling them that the Bible.
I used to stalk trophy hunters. I don't stalk them anymore. I tell you, and it still does. It still does when I see.
Well, I would support that because that's full on murder.
Those were the only ones I used to stalk and go get them shit on their page, and then they'd get me blocked. And
I'm not much of a stalker.
No, I'm never on these like church pages leaving comments. Like I don't have time to do that. And I know what the truth is. I know what the truth is within myself, and I'm very confident in what the truth is. So I don't need to be over on their pages, so. Yeah. So anyway.
Yeah. And I think that's why I'm glad we are together in this corner, and even with JC, we're all just truth seekers wanting to find the truth, share the truth, and we're not scared to say that we were wrong. We're not staying on the same narrative, although we stay the same all the time. So
I say that on my channel. I've never taken a video off my channel. Any videos that are off my channel were removed by the controllers. But there's videos from like 2 years ago where I thought Yeshua was Jewish, and I've left them up because I want to show that my evolution and my research, and it's okay to learn more and be like, oops, that wasn't, So,
I agree. So, and this is what's great about this, is that we're kind of learning together. We're kind of figuring things out together. We're moving along the path together. It's amazing.
I have to say, Miss Fiji, this cracks me up. The baddies I've said that they're well ahead of us. We just woke up. Some are trying to catch up, and those who have already caught up to the baddies have to work so hard to step ahead. So true. But I will say, Miss Fiji, in here in the South, I think you said you were from the Netherlands. Well, Miss Fiji, I'll tell you something about here in the South. I've said this before. If you watch Still Magnolias, you'll learn a thing or two about Southern women are savage, and they can say the most cuttingly awful things in a very nice way. So what I say as a Southern woman to the baddies is bless your heart. That means you're a dumbass because they work so hard. I mean, we have to kind of laugh, right? They work so hard to try to confuse us, but yet we still woke up. So bless their heart. So Miss Fiji, give yourself a freaking pat on the back for outsmarting these smart people. You outsmarted them, right? We all outsmarted them. Okay. So give even though it might feel daunting that they're still here and they're going to be here, but we're in a tango with them. This is the tango we signed up for, right? We signed up to be in this tango with them. And so they're our dancing partners, right? So we're going to meet them all the way. We're going to be tangoing with them all the way to the end when we get separated by the natural course of things. So, but for people watching right now, from what Miss Fiji said, give yourself a big fat pat on the back. Tell yourself that you are a rock star. You are a badass, because bless their hearts, they worked for hundreds, if not thousands of years to try to confuse us, and yet it didn't work. So bless their hearts.
They probably a little bit confused themselves, right?
No. They're like, what went wrong?
Wonderful. Yay.
right. So I thought,
Let us.
since it's been a
Yeah.
minute, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to read through from the beginning and then stop where we stopped last week so we can then discuss the new stuff, just for people who might be confused, because we're on tablet 5, the Dweller Ubunal, which is one of the most mysterious of all the tablets. But from what we were talking about last time, it really is all about, which we saw in tablet 4 too, Thoth is really, in my opinion, trying to drive it home to us what we were just basically talking about. That you are the infinite wise old soul that created this tango. Like I just said, you agreed to be here to tango with these people before you agreed to take them on as your dancing partner until this. So that's what he's saying here. And he's talking about his own metamorphosis and how this was all created. So if you guys don't mind, I'm just going to read through and then we'll get to where we won't do the commentary, just so people can remember where we are. He said, oft I dreamed of buried Atlantis. And we're going to talk about the fall of Atlantis too in this tablet. Lost in the ages that passed into night, eon on eon thou existed in beauty, a light shining through the darkness of night. Mighty in power, ruling the earthbound, lord of the earth in Atlantis' day, king of the nations, master of wisdom, light through Chantelle, keeper of the way. Dwelt in his temple, the master of Unal, light of the earth in Atlantis' day. Master he from the cycles beyond us, living in bodies as one among men. Not as the earthborn, he from beyond us, son of a cycle, advanced beyond men. Know ye, O man, the harlot, the master, was never one with the children of men. Far in the past, when Atlantis first grew in power, appeared there one with the key of wisdom, showing the way of light to all. Showed he to all men the path of attainment, way of the light that flows among men, mastering darkness, leading the man soul upward to heights that were one with the light. Divided the kingdoms he into sections. 10 were they, ruled by the children of men. Upon another he built a temple, built not by the children of men. Out of the ether called he a substance, molded and formed by the power of Utolan. Into the forms he built with his mind. Mile upon mile it covered the island, space upon space it grew in its might. Black yet not black, but dark like the space-time, deep in the heart of the essence of light. That's powerful. Swiftly the temple grew into being, molded and shaped by the word of the dweller, called from the formless into the form. And that's where we stopped last week. So for that commentary, that's in the video from last week, you guys, so we can move forward just to get us up to date. So now we're getting into new territory. He built he then with it great chambers, filled them with forms called forth from the ether, filled them with wisdom called forth by his mind. Formless was he within his temple, yet was he formed in the image of men, dwelling among them, yet not of them. Strange and far different was he from the children of men. And if you guys remember, we talked about a harlot last week, with the different stages of the Earth's timeline, whether we're talking about Lemuria, Atlantis, Tartaria, where we are now. It's different. I like to call them different managers in charge. And so during the time, like right now, we know the manager in charge is Lucifer. The god of this world right now is Lucifer, right? That's why the god of the Bible is Lucifer, right? That's what Yahweh means, right? So during Atlantis's time, there was one commentary I read, and it wasn't from Doriel, from another person, that speculated the god or the manager of Earth during Atlantis's time was someone like Gabriel or Michael, right? So we're looking at an entity that was of the light, right? And then, of course, when we had the apocalypse, which was the fall of Atlantis, there was a huge scuffle. Then we had the tribulation. And then we had, which Shanti and I have talked about a lot, Tartaria, which was the 1,000 years of peace. So obviously Lucifer was not hanging out managing. You know, we have this joke here in America, and I no offense if your name is Karen, but there's a joke about the Karens, which are like middle-aged women like myself that always want to speak to the manager. Like, let me speak to your manager. I kind of see that with the Lucy's now. They always want to speak to the manager, you know?
We've got them in Africa as Afrikaans ladies as well. Afrikaans ladies. The same hairstyle, just in Afrikaans. So we've got the same. They're very much same as you Salvan girls.
Yeah, let me speak to the manager. Like, and so like So I always kind of laugh about that. Like when I'm doing these, I'm like, oh, different managers. Like, and of course the Lucy's are obsessed with the manager. Like those of the light that are laid back and live and let. We're not obsessed with speaking to the manager, but the Lucy's, man, they're constantly there. Listen, those Lucy's are probably lined up to speak to the manager right now because of people like us going, why did this work, manager? Why did this work? So
exactly. Or just take an injection. It'll help. It'll help.
Well, the funny thing is we were reading a Cassiopean board, and they created the Zapperty-Doodas for people like us to try to brainwash us, but they forgot that we were not going to get the Zapperty-Doodas. So now they're like, well, shit.
What now?
like bless your heart, honey. You really thought that you could woo us into a Zapperty-Doodah when we already didn't trust you to begin with? Like, they're like, what's the I Love Lucy where he's like, you got some splaining to do? Like they're like, manager, you got some splaining to do. Like, why didn't this work? So anyway. So when he's talking about Horlet, and I think that's super important for us to understand, especially since Thoth wrote these tablets for us now, is that I think before this awakening happened, at least for me, we were kind of under this impression that the God of this planet had always been like the same God. Now there is the true source God that created everything, but there's timeline shifts where God himself or herself, source, puts other managers in charge, right? And we know that God told Lucifer, it's your reign now. Do all's fair in love and war. See, give it your best shot, you know? So at this point, I think that's what's interesting is we have to understand, and I think that's why Thoth is really pushing this home, is that whoever was in charge of Earth during Atlantis was of the light, right? And of course, there was a changeover, a shift change. We'll say a shift change. He goes on to say, so he's dwelling among the men, this Horlet during Atlantis. So he goes on to say he chose them from among the people, 3 who were to become his gateway. Chose he 3 of the highest to become his links with Atlantis, messengers they who carried his counsel to the kings of the children of men. Brought he forth others and taught them wisdom, teachers they to the children of men. Placed he then on the island of Undal to stand as teachers of light to men. Each of those who were thus chosen taught must he be for 5 and 10. Only thus could he have understanding to bring light to the children of men. Thus there came into being the temple, a dwelling place for the master of men. I thought this was really interesting, and we're going to look at Doriel's commentary on this. Shanti, we've spoken about this before, about what he's saying in this is that for these people to be teachers of the light, and we saw this in the first tablet too, right? Like Thoth talked about these priests and priestesses of Atlantis who were also kind of granted like immortal life to protect the teachings, these teachings, so they didn't get into the wrong hands until this time when they would be released to us. So these were people who were trained and understood the path of the shadow work, of the light, what things that Shanti and I talk about. Now, he said here, taught must be for 5 and 10. What does that mean? They were trained for 15 years straight to do this. And we've talked about this there, and I believe everything is created by the light, but the darkness inverts. We have these people out there doing these 200-hour trainings and thinking they are teachers, and they are not, right? And so we're seeing it here. Like my teacher in India, it takes, he says, only 15, 20 years are you then maybe teacher. Like it takes a long time to really be in that seat, to really understand viscerally, because it's not about just learning a yoga sutra and then regurgitating it, right? That doesn't make you a teacher. Regurgitation does not make you having a visceral experience with the process. Therefore, having your own perspective is what makes you grounded in the knowledge. Like the knowledge I have on yoga after doing this for 17 years is I can do a show on yoga like that without preparing because it's so viscerally in my DNA. And so I thought that was really important that he was saying these people that were appointed to carry over this knowledge throughout the apocalypse, throughout Tartaria, to be able to bring it forth now went through hell and back in Atlantis in training to be able to walk forward and present this knowledge to you. And I thought that was really cool. They talked about, because we've talked about that as well. Only thus, okay, so let's start that paragraph over again. Each of those who were thus chosen taught must he for 5 and 10. Only thus could he have understanding to bring light to the children of men. Thus there came into being the temple, a dwelling place for the master of men. So they're doing it. They're preparing these certain way showers to be able to help us remember these teachings of Atlantis. And I see that a lot. And I'm sure Shanti and Morné have seen this as well. Like, I'll have a student come in who's never done yoga, never done any type of spiritual healing, and you start talking to them about the philosophy, and they just all of a sudden get it. Like, it's like they remember all of a sudden, oh yeah, that makes sense. It's like a memory happens, that this is actually it's descending into the darkness that brings us back to the light. It's actually being uncomfortable that brings us to the place of understanding our own darkness. And that's how we defeat the darkness, by understanding our own darkness and facing. And so, but for some people who've never studied that, that is really daunting to understand now that you can't bypass the uncomfortableness. So I thought that was super. So that's just Thoth kind of giving us like a nudge that, yeah, this is how this was taught. He says, I, Thoth, ever have sought wisdom, searching in darkness and searching in light. Long in my youth, I traveled the pathway, seeking ever new knowledge to gain, until after much striving, one of the three to me brought the light. He brought me to the commands of the dweller, called me from the darkness into the light. Brought he me before the dweller, deep in the temple, before the great fire. So now Thoth, out of all of these students, has shown the most aptitude and understanding. And Thoth is saying he worked hard for that. Like, he was constantly working on himself, constantly trying to gain more knowledge. And that aptitude was thus rewarded by bringing him to the dweller, bringing him to the manager. He got sent to the principal's office, y'all. You know, like, because his work was being like, okay, like, now this dweller knows, this manager in charge knows there's about to be a shift change, right? And so this manager now knows that we got to set up certain people in place because the timeline's about to shift. And so we have to prepare certain people, certain souls who have aptitude to understand this, to be in place, to now be prepared to go through. Because listen, y'all, can we just like have a moment of honor of poor Thoth? Like the fact that he's had to go through all this shit to finally, I mean, we think we've been through a lot. This dude has been waiting for thousands of years to be like, here I am, guys, I'm back, you know, to see all this crap, to finally be over, okay, now it's my time. Now it's the grand finale. So this is what Thoth is now being prepared in Atlantis, for Atlantis to fall, and for he and his group of students to then forth take this message forward. I hope that makes sense. So he's meeting before the dweller. The dweller says, there on the great throne beheld I, the dweller, clothed in the light and flashing with fire. Down I knelt before the great wisdom, feeling the light flowing through me in waves. Heard I then the voice of the dweller. So now, could you imagine? Like, I think I'd be crapping my pants if all of a sudden I was brought before the manager. I think that if someone called me to the principal's office, all of a sudden I've got to go meet him. So now we're going to hear the dweller speak. O darkness, come into light. Long have ye sought the pathway to light. So he's calling Thoth the darkness. Oh, darkness, come into light. Why is he calling the darkness? He's calling in his shadow, because that's what Thoth has been working on. Thoth is willingly able to bring his shadow side to the light. And so that is what the dweller is commenting on. Oh, darkness, come into the light. But
it's also interesting that Thoth would be the god of the moon, right?
Yeah.
Which is also, you know, the moon. When we're looking at that, it works with the shadowy aspects of who we are. You know, the moon is the night light. I mean, the light in the night skies. So it brings us that light in dark times. But yeah,
that is totally true, because he represents the moon. So the dweller says, "O darkness, come into the light. Long have ye sought the pathway to light. Each soul on earth that loses its fetters shall soon be made free from the bondage of night. Forth from the darkness have ye arisen. Closer approach the light of your goal. Here ye shall dwell as one of my children, keeper of records, gatherer by wisdom, instrument thou of light from beyond. Ready be thou made to do what is needed, preserver of wisdom through the ages of darkness, that shall come fast on the children of men. Live thee here and drink all wisdom, secrets and mysteries unto thee shall be unveiled. So he's telling them at that point, dark, listen, Thoth, little Thoth Jr., little boy Thoth. Your world is about to fall. Atlantis, he's telling them, Atlantis is going to fall. You, because of your aptitude and because of your work and how hard you worked on yourself, we are pulling you aside. We're bringing you into the halls of Aminte for you to be able to preserve this knowledge along with a bunch of other people, so that when the darkness falls, because it's coming on the children of men, this darkness, that you will be able to step forth when the time is right to remind the children of men who they really are, right? Powerful. So can you imagine for a second being in Thoth's shoes? Right, no matter how much work you've done on yourself, and who knows what Atlantis was like. I mean, they were like levitating. I mean, listen, you guys, like the world we live in is very primitive compared to Atlantis. I'm sure they had hovering cars and all sorts of stuff, so, but to understand, to be told that the world is about to end. Life as you know it is about to change. There's going to be darkness that's going to come across. There's going to be a cataclysm. Hello, Graham Hancock, which Graham Hancock, David Icke, I think those men are sitting pretty right now, feeling very vindicated by all those years of being called crazy. And now we're like, they were onto something. The cataclysms that cleared out humanity, only a few people survived. And the ones that did survive to carry on humanity, as we saw in the first tablet, after the cataclysm, were barbarians again. They were back to living in caves. They had total amnesia, had no idea what was happening. And then as we saw when Thoth emerged, they wanted to kill Thoth because he scared them, because here he was coming out in his Atlantean gear, and for him to know, I mean, could you imagine for a second, think about your family and friends. Could you imagine if you were pulled in and said, it's all going to change. The world as you know it, the city you live in, it's going to be flooded out. It's going to destroy itself. And the people you love the most are going to go through amnesia. And they're going to want to kill you because they're not going to recognize you. Could you imagine the weight of that responsibility that placed on Thoth's shoulders? So I just want to give a moment. I think it's easy for us to be like, this is such a cool story. It's written for us, but to take a moment of empathy and compassion of what Thoth himself has actually volunteered to do for humanity. That, no wonder the darkness tried to invert him. Because that's one of the most selfless things anybody could do, is to actually say, okay, I will do this for my brothers and sisters, and I will hold steady for them, and I will guard these teachings with my life and the life of my colleagues to make sure it gets to the proper hands when it's time. So I just wanted to say that for a minute. So Thoth, if you are listening, mad respect, man, mad respect. Then answered I, the master of cycle, saying, O light that descends to men, give thou to me of thy wisdom, so that I might be a teacher of men. Give of thy light that I may be free. So I want to say that once again, we see himself calling him a teacher over and over again. He's just a teacher of men. And he's saying, oh, light that descends to men, give me of thou wisdom. Okay, I'm agreeing to take this job on. I'm taking it for the team. I'm going to write this out. Give me everything you want me to keep it. That's why he's the keeper of records, right? It's because he's writing it all down to make sure it is preserved so that it is brought forward when it needs to be. Spoke then to me again the master. Age after age shall ye live through your wisdom. When o'er Atlantis the ocean waves roll. So now he's being told how Atlantis is going to crumble. I mean, could you imagine? And I know, Shanti, we've talked about this. I know Catherine Edwards has talked about this. A lot of us have memories of those ocean waves coming to the shores of Atlantis. But to hear that, your family is going to get basically knocked out by a tsunami. I mean, can you imagine the pain of that? So he says, I'll read that again. Spoke then to me again, the master saying, age after age shall you live through your wisdom. When o'er Atlantis the ocean waves roll, holding the light through hidden in darkness, ready to come whenever thou shalt call. Go thee now and learn great wisdom. Grow thou light to infinity's all. So you, Thoth, and all of these students that are with Thoth are going to be responsible for holding the light during the dark days that are going to fall upon us. Talk about some pressure. Like, that is a job for an overachiever, if I'm going to be honest. Like, that is like, talk about some freaking pressure. Long then I dwelt in the temple of the dweller, until at last I was one with the light. Followed I then the path to the star plains, followed I then the pathway to light. Deep into earth's heart I followed the pathway, learning the secrets below as above, learning the pathway to the halls of Amente, learning the law that balances the world. To earth's hidden chambers pierced I by my wisdom, deep through the earth's crust into the pathway hidden for ages from the children of men. Unveiled before me ever more wisdom, until I reached a new knowledge, found that all is a part of all, great and yet greater than all we know. Searched I infinity's heart through the ages, deeper yet deeper, more mysteries I found. So even in this time of waiting, being held in the halls of Amente, he's continuing to work as well and find out even more mysteries about our planet and who we are as people, who we are as souls, which again go back and reference tablet 4, because he gets heavily involved in that tablet 4. Now as I look back through the ages, now that wisdom is boundless, ever grow greater throughout the ages, one with infinity's greater all. Light there was an ancient Atlantis, yet darkness too was hidden in all. Fell from the light into the darkness some who were raised to the heights among men. Proud they became of their knowledge, proud were they of their place among men. Deep delved they into the forbidden, opened the gateway that led to below. Sought they to gain ever more knowledge, but seeking to bring it up from below. Boom, guys, because we know Atlantis fell. Atlantis, this is a mirror of what we're seeing now with the controllers. We know Atlantis fell. We talked about this with the first tablet. We are literally mirroring Atlantis. When Atlantis fell, we're in the exact same battle that we were in Atlantis. And I said we were, yes, you heard me correctly, because guess what, my friends? That's how karma works. If you're watching this right now, chances are you were there for the fall of Atlantis. That's why you got a round trip ticket back to now, right? So what happened was all of these powerful people of Atlantis started to harbor and hold the knowledge for themselves instead of sharing it with the people. And that darkness started to overtake the light, and it crashed out, because darkness can't survive without the light, right? So that was the fall of Atlantis. So we are literally, like, legit, this is Groundhog Day. This is literally, we are seeing. So when I first read that, I got chills down my spine. That is what we're seeing with the controllers now. Let me reread that so you guys can really hear what he's saying. Light there was in ancient Atlantis, yet darkness too was hidden in all. Fell from the light into the darkness some who had risen to the heights among men. Proud they became of their knowledge. Proud they were in their place among men. Deep delved they into the forbidden, opened the gateway that led to below. Sought they to gain ever more knowledge, but seeking to bring it up from below. I mean, if that doesn't scream Lucy's, I don't know what does.
Yeah, to bring it up from below. So it's resurrecting. But, on another level, that's a really good thing, because it's also exposing, you know. I mean, again, all of the stuff that's been suppressed, hidden knowledge, hidden kids, hidden tunnels, hidden everything that's been suppressed, it does need to come up now as well. So this could also be kind of saying it's a good thing for us, because all of that stuff, the lies, the fear, because that's really how they got. I mean, I know I've had this insight about Atlantis many years ago. It was exactly, we were were working with amazing spiritual energies, so to speak. But the one thing we didn't understand was our emotions. Hello, water. Water equals emotions. So we were using crystals. And that, of course, was the reason. And that's how fear came in, because we were not looking internally. We were using tools and equipment and probably information and knowledge or whatever external to ourselves when it came to certain things.
Well, that's what he's saying, that they hid it. They also found this information, like they hid it from people. And they also talked about, I mean, this was great too. Proud they became of their knowledge. Proud they were of their place among men. They wanted that fame. They wanted that glory. They wanted the extra. They only felt, and I see that with the there are famous people who got famous for doing something, right? Like but we see it and we see it even especially, and I will say this, that's something I've noticed with the people that I know for sure are infiltrators into our community. They pride themselves on their fame in our community, right? They're not, and I can say wholeheartedly, I know that Shanti and Morné don't give a shit about being famous. I know that about them. I don't either. Like, it's not about that. It's about having, so look at that. That's pride, right? And we look at that from the flip side with, again, people who are famous, who use their platforms, use their power, their fame to do good, to try to help people, right? It's all about, it's like, I hate when people say money is the root of all evil. Money is not. Money is just paper. Don't give it that much credit. The root of evil is the intention that people have with
the intention,
right? It's not
money is energy. Money is simply energy that you can direct in one way or the other. Yeah.
Well, and I like that quote. I like the you can either, what is it, Cain that killed his brother with a rock, or
Cain killed Abel. Yeah.
Or David that threw Goliath with a rock.
With David,
it's the same thing, but the one killed the giant, and the other one killed his brother. So it's the same thing.
Yeah.
I made a note here, and just before my internet cuts off again, we spoke earlier about perspective and projection, and that for me stood out, because if they can control our perspective about things, because perspective is you having the bigger picture of things. So you think you've got the whole story. So that will determine how you project to everything in life. So if they control that, then we're kind of in this like wormhole. And I know, Chantelle, that's what I love about your workshops. It gives you that little shift of perspective, and then suddenly the whole picture changes. And then, like, if you could only have that little piece of shift in perspective, then suddenly the whole picture changes. Like, look, for example, light and dark. We all think that darkness is evil and light is good. But let's look at Lucifer. Lucifer is also the light bringer. So light can be blinding. Light can be very blinding. And darkness can be very nurturing. Ooh,
and illuminating, actually.
Well, actually, as you guys were saying that, I felt a nudge. I literally felt something touch my shoulder and say, go back to the first two lines of that verse. So thank you to whoever told me that. Light there was an ancient Atlantis, yet darkness too was hidden in all. What were we literally just talking about? The hidden darkness that you not wanting to. I love how Morné's face is frozen, like in shock. so we were talking about that in the beginning, right? Like your shadow side. If you're not willing to face your shadow side, if you keep that shadow side hidden and you ignore it, then you're allowing that darkness to then overtake the light, right? And that's what he's saying here. I felt that tap. Light there was an ancient Atlantis, yet darkness too was hidden in all. So he didn't say in a few. He didn't say it was just only hidden in a couple of people. He said it was hidden in all. And that's
totally.
And that's what we're seeing here. And that's why we promote these shadow work challenges. And we promote you like turning us off from time to time and going and taking a walk, because it's hidden in you as well. And the Lucy's, the controllers, as you were saying, when they control the narrative, when they make you believe that you don't need to look at your darkness, or that somebody else is going to save you from your darkness, then they get to overtake you again, just like they did. So this is a warning. This is a warning that this is what happened before, and we're seeing it happening again, right? And so, but now we get to course correct. So now Thoth is like, here comes the chorus line. Here we get to course correct. Like, we don't have to make the same mistake we did before. So I think that that's super important. I mean, that it's amazing. Like, we were talking about that before we started filming, and then we took it onto camera, because that's exactly what Thoth is saying. Like, it's nothing. We repeat this until we're blue in the face. It's literally, you are the storm. You are lightning in a bottle, and your darkness, what you ignore, is going to persist, and it's going to eventually it's like if you have an infection and you don't treat it and you just ignore it, it might get worse, right? Like you have to actually acknowledge that inside of you, acknowledge the darkness in you in order to bring it to the light. So yes,
exactly, offer it to the light, so that it is no longer of the dark. And that is your own personal struggles. No, those will be your own personal struggles.
And I will say, I know we're doing the Sophia Code as well, and we talked about Kuan Yin before. And, if you guys haven't read her story, I mean, that's a perfect example of bringing darkness to the light in order to make, it's like a mathematical equation. Darkness plus light equals compassion. Her Kuan Yin was, I don't know if we can say the R word, she was R-A-P-E-D'd. Gang RAPED'd multiple times, and ended up being thrown in the forest where she lived like a wild animal and didn't trust anyone because she'd been so hurt, hiding away. She was hiding herself away, like we hide our darkness away, until her twin flame, she talks about this, came in and brought life back to her, healed her. Once he had healed her, he then left her. So then she had to continue healing on her own. And it was that pain, that just awful, gross darkness that she had lived through and that she hid away, when it was slowly pulled out of her by the other half of her soul and then made whole again, was she then able to be this. I mean, people often, I don't think, give Kuan Yin enough credit, because she's like this master of massive compassion. The Kuan Yin key code, she tells you to bring yourself back to your child and to get in her lap so she can hold you. Makes me emotional. But she's only able to do that because she has used her darkness. She transmuted that darkness, and she got compassion. And she is one of the most powerful healing. And so that is what I don't want people to be like, because I think we've been so conditioned in our churches and our religions to fear the darkness. But the darkness is yours. That's your magic weapon. That's what shapes you. That's the fire. It's like my teacher talks about it with gold. What do you do if you want to purify and clean gold? You boil it so that the impurities rise to the top and you can wipe them away. So when you want to cleanse and purify yourself, what do? You lean into that uncomfortable fire of darkness so that you can bring it to the top and let it go and release it. And then you're not, and that's, I thank you to whatever spirit not tapped on my shoulder, because it's right there. Like there was in ancient Atlantis, yet darkness too was hidden in all. Again, not some, but in all. Right? And so that is, all right. I don't know, how much time do we have left, guys?
Few minutes.
All right, let's go a few more verses. Yeah? Because this is powerful.
Yeah.
I think this is turning out to be my favorite of the tablets, is tablet 5, to be honest with you. I might say that about tablet 6 too, but we'll see. This is all my favorites. He who descends below must have balance, else he is bound by lack of our light, opened by their knowledge, pathways forbidden to man. All right, so that's pretty powerful too. He who descends below must have balance. So the ones that are willing to go below, possibly to help, already need to have that balance, or else they are bound by our light, or else they cannot, or else they are hurt by our light, right? But in his temple, all-seeing the dweller lay in his aguante, while through Atlantis his soul roamed free. Saw he the Atlanteans by their magic, opening the gateway, but that would bring to the earth a great woe. Fast fled his soul then back to his body. Up he rose again from his aguante. Called he the three mighty messengers, gave the commands that shattered the world. So the master, the manager in spirit form, zoomed around and was like, okay, they're calling on, they're opening portals into dark realms. What does that sound like? Sounds familiar, doesn't it? And we got to pull the plug on this before they totally implode themselves. We just got to wipe out Atlantis because they're going to implode this planet. What's the Bible verse? Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Deep neath the earth's crust, to the halls of Amente, swiftly descended the dweller. Called he then on the powers the seven lords wielded. Changed the earth's balance. Down sank Atlantis beneath the dark wave. So who are the seven lords again? Your chakras. The vibration of our chakras. Our energy was what forced it. So what I'm saying again, your consent isn't by your mind, because your mind can lie to you. Your consent is your vibrational frequency. Shattered the gateway that had been opened, shattered the doorway that led down below. All of the islands were shattered except Unal. And part of that island of the sons of the dweller preserved he then to be the teachers, lights on the path for those to come after, lights for the lesser children of men. So he preserved an area. We know a lot of Atlantis is under the sea. We know that people find roads and all sorts of stuff under the sea. So there's parts of this land, probably the earth we still see to this day, where different Atlanteans were left and protected so that they could carry forth this information. Called he then I, Thoth, before him, gave me the commands for all I should do, saying, take thou, O Thoth, all of your wisdom, take all of your records, take all of your magic, go forth as a teacher of men, go forth preserving the records until the time of light grows among men. Light shall be thou through all the ages, hidden yet found by enlightened men. So we can give ourselves a little pat on the shoulder because we found these things. So we're the enlightened men. Over all earth give we ye power. Free thou to give or take it away. Gather thou now the sons of Atlantis. Take them and flee to the people of the rock caves. Fly to the land of the children of Chem, which is Egypt. Then gathered I the sons of Atlantis into a spaceship. I brought all my records. This is where shit gets real interesting. It gets a little Star Warsy, you guys. Brought the records of sunken Atlantis. Gather I all of my power, instruments of the many mighty magic. Up then we rose on wings of the morning. High we rose above the temple, leaving behind three and dweller deep in the halls neath the temple. Down the waves sank the great temple, closing the pathway to the lords of the cycle. Yet ever to him who has knowing, open shall be the path to Amente. So basically, the kingdom center, the Great Oz, the Wizard of Oz, the Great Oz is actually hidden underneath the water too. So he took his spaceship, went up, which was totally normal from what I understand with Atlantis. Like it would just be like saying he got in his Honda and drove away. Like spaceships were normal. So he's flying up with all the records as he's watching the temple with the dweller in the halls of Amente go under to be hidden. So he's seeing his teacher now going under to be hidden. I mean, I would shit my pants. Like, I mean, that would just be the freakiest thing to see, like, right under, right? So up then we rose on wings of the morning. High we rose above the temple, leaving. Okay, we read that. So fast fled we then on the wings of the morning, fled to the land of the children of Chem. There by my power I conquered and ruled them. Raised I to light the children of Chem, so the Egyptians. He brought back all the information. And we're going to get to where this spaceship is. And this kind of proves that the real Egypt is here in the southeast and not in Africa, because they don't want you to know where this is located. And we'll get to that. We can maybe talk about that next week too, because I have actual pictures, evidence pictures of this. All right. So the children of Chem. So we know Tennessee is the land of Isis or Egypt, basically. The Mississippi is the Nile. Memphis, there was a Sphinx, which next week we can talk about this when we go through commentary. There was a Sphinx in Memphis, Tennessee that they destroyed in the early 1900s. He's going to talk about the Sphinx and where his spaceship is. This is why I think they freaked out when the mighty Mississippi started to dry up around Memphis. There was a big freak out. because what are we going to see at that point? So anyway, deep beneath the rocks, I buried my spaceship, waiting the time when man might be free. Over the spaceship erected a marker in the form of a lion, yet like unto men. There neath the images rest ye my spaceship, forth to be brought when need shall arise. Know ye, O man, that far in the future invaders shall come from out of the deep. Then awake ye, who have wisdom, bring forth my ship and conquer with ease. I'm telling you guys, it's going to get more violent before this. He's telling you right here, we're going to see more invasions. He's talking about alien invasions. I think they mean the fourth density negative beings that are controlling, that the controllers are worshiping. That's what I kind of think he means, but there could literally be some aliens coming in. I don't know. Nothing surprises me anymore. So deep beneath the image lies my secret. Search and find the pyramid I built. Each to the other is a keystone. Each the gateway that leads into life. Follow the key I leave behind me. Seek in the doorway of life shall be thine. Seek thou in my pyramid, deep in the passage that ends in a wall. Use thou the key of the seven, and open the pathway will fall. What's the key of the seven, guys? Your chakras. Now unto thee I give my wisdom. Now unto thee I give my way. Follow the pathway, solve thou my secrets. Unto thee I have shown the way. So next week, I know we're up at an hour, guys. If you want, we can go through the commentary for Doriel's, and I can show you pictures of the Sphinx that they destroyed in Memphis, Tennessee. So this is my thought, is that the controllers know where this information is being held, which is underneath probably Tennessee. I mean, that's what Tennessee means, right? The land of Isis, Egypt.
Yeah.
And the Mississippi is right on that, or the Memphis is right on the Mississippi, which would be the Nile. And so they've distracted us. And there's actually on a Tartarian page on Facebook, when I was on Facebook, they have pictures from the early 1900s of them actually moving pyramids.
Yeah.
Right? I know
that.
my friend who is very mystical here in Atlanta, I won't dox her or anything, but she's very familiar with this land. And she's told me that there are pyramids under Georgia that are bound to start coming up at some point.
Yeah.
I think lots of things are going to start happening at some point very soon.
I mean JC even spoke about underground cities with pyramids and stuff.
Totally. The Emerald City, we actually going we checking out that stuff at the moment. It's very
Let me
cool,
tell you guys, I said this with the freaking giants. Like, if giants wake up and start running, if pyramids start, I act brave and tough, but if a pyramid starts to like ascend out of the ground, I will probably crap my pants. Like, come on, like, hell, I mean, I'm used to seeing spirits.
Yeah, I'll be like, it's like nothing surprised me anymore.
I mean, trust me, I'll be filming it. I'll be live on Instagram, like filming this. Like, check it out, you guys. You know, like, how are the controllers going to explain this, right? You know, but they have to tell us things like, why is Atlanta called Atlanta? Why is it called Atlanta? It's Atlantis. Why do we have all this granite? Why were the guide stones placed 90 miles outside of Atlanta? We're the granite capital. I mean, this is fast. This is by far my favorite tablet. And next week, if you guys want, we'll go through the commentary and show some of these pictures. Yeah, is that cool? Before we get to
let's do that. That'll be cool. Nice. Yay.
Yeah. And if you guys, if you are living somewhere in the world where pyramids start appearing out of your backyard, will you please send us the footage?
Proof. And no scammers. No scammers.
No, we'll see if you faked it.
Yeah, well,
no
with
chance
AI, with AI, it's very easy to make a fake photo right now.
Yeah,
I know, right?
Gosh, it's crazy what you can do with AI. I'm seeing this stuff. It's like what's real and what's not. Yeah.
I'm gonna ask if there is anybody watching from Memphis. Now, I'm pretty close to Memphis, so maybe I can take a road trip at some point. But there is a glass pyramid in Memphis that people talk about a lot. So if you're in Memphis, will you let me know, or let Shanti and Morné know? Because I want to see if you could take some pictures and send to us and talk to us about things, because there's folklore in like every town. Like, do you know is there folklore about Memphis You know, this is near, you know, Tennessee's a big state. There's a lot that happens in Tennessee. We've got, you know, Nashville, which is country music capital. We've got, you know, so anyway, but that's a powerful tablet, isn't it?
It's absolutely amazing. I'm really enjoying them. So we will see you not Wednesday, Tuesday next week.
Yes, because I travel. Thank you for reminding me. Yes.
Bryce is gallivanting. I was gallivanting, and now Bryce is gallivanting. So we will have the Sophia Code. No, hang on. We're doing the Emerald Tablet on Monday, right? Yes, Monday's usually
Monday.
Okay. So we will be back on Monday with the Emerald Tablets, usual time. And then Tuesday, we will do the Sophia Code because, Miss Gallivanter will be out and about doing
I'll be in South Georgia, so.
Yeah.
Okay. And the heat.
Yeah. Okay, everybody. Much love to you all. Thank you for watching. If you haven't already, like, share, subscribe. Thank you, Bryce. Thank you, Morné. Is there anything you want to say before we end off, Brycey-boo?
Just remember, you're the prize. It's all about you watching. You're the storm. You are the one they are trying to control. So just be uncontrollable.
Can't argue with that. Who am I to argue with that? Can't argue with that. You are the prize. Okay, guys. Take good care. Love you all. See you very soon. Cheers.